Beef stroganoff. This recipe we actually did for one of our prepared food clients who wanted us to use some beef stew meat instead of the regular ground. Um, Very simple recipe, just a few techniques to be aware of. You can see I added some oil and butter to my pot. I let that heat up before adding any of my beef stew meat. And you can see as I'm adding this, I'm not overcrowding the pan. You don't want to overcrowd the pan or you lose all that heat. If you lose that heat, you won't get any nice brown in. What'll end up happening is it just starts to simmer in its own juices and you lose so much depth of flavor in your stew. So don't overcrowd the pan. Make sure everything's hot before you add it. You can see I'm seasoning with salt and pepper now. I'm starting to develop those flavors. And I'm not playing around with the meat here. I'm going to let it brown. When you throw it in the pan, it's going to stick right away, but because the oil and the butter's hot, the pan's hot, as that caramelization happens on the beef, it'll start to release itself from the pan. And then once I'm comfortable enough that it's browned, I will start flipping them over. Now this is a process you do not want to miss out on. You don't want to take a shortcut because the flavor you're going to lose if you do. It's just not worth doing the dish. So take time, do it properly at this point. And I did this in batches. I think I did it in 3 different batches. As it browned, I would take it out and put it into a bowl. And you notice you're going to get a lot of nice little brown bits on the bottom of the pot. Keep those in there. Don't try to wipe them out and get rid of them because a little bit later we'll show you how to deglaze the pan and it's going to add again just another amazing depth of flavor. So all the beef's done. Now I'm going to throw in my mushrooms, my onions. I did add a little bit more oil and butter because I used a fair bit up when I was doing the beef. Then we're just going to cook this down until they're almost fully cooked. You could use some different wild mushrooms in here if you want. I have a cremini mushroom, but again, have some fun with this. Season, salt, pepper, again, layer in those flavors. Don't wait till the very end of your dish for salt and pepper. Now that they're almost cooked, I'm going to throw my garlic in. Just for a couple of minutes. I don't want to brown the garlic. I just want to soften it up, start bringing out its flavors. And then we're going to start that magical deglazing process. So I've got the pan's nice and hot. I'm going to add my cold wine. And when that cold hits the hot, it starts to release all that goodness on the bottom. And then I take my wooden spoon and then I just scrape it, release it from the bottom so it gets into my broth. Now I'm using a veal stock in here. You can use beef stock, chicken stock. I've made this with water. If you do use water, then it's really important that you do this deglazing process. You really want to make sure that you get that browning done on the beef. And in the end, you know, it might not be quite as good, but it's still going to be a very good dish. Here comes my stock. And then a little bit more seasoning in here, a little bit of tomato paste. Got to wash off that spoon, don't want to waste any. And some dried thyme. Now all I want to do is I just want to bring this up to a simmer after, wait a sec, I got to add the beef. All that reserved beef wouldn't be beef stroganoff without the beef. So we'll get it in there, stir it around, we're going to bring it up to a simmer. Then we're going to pop the lid on top and we're going to let this cook for 2 to 3 hours until the beef is nice and tender. Now I did, not shown on the video here, I did remove about 80 milliliters or 1/3 cup of the broth and let it cool down so I could mix that with my cornstarch at this point. And this is the little slurry that I'm going to use to thicken this up. And just look at that incredible color on there, and that's because we did everything right. We caramelized the meat, we deglazed the veal stock. I mean, it's just, that's a thing of beauty. I could look at that all day long. I want to cook it out for maybe 2 to 3 minutes just to get that less starchiness from the cornstarch out. this point, I've also got my noodles in the pot cooking away so that they're ready to go when I throw in the sour cream. And that's what we're going to finish this off with, is a little bit of sour cream. This has an incredible depth, an incredible richness because of all the things we did to it. Now the sour cream is just going to add a great balance to that. You know, you get that little zip from the sour cream that's going to cut through that richness a little bit and balance it out. And once we mix that in, I will give it another little salt and pepper, little taste, mix in my noodles. The great thing about this, you know, Shannon and I had a bowl for dinner, and then we put it into the leftovers into 3 separate microwavable containers, and we had lunches for the next few days. And in fact, I think I preferred it reheated the next day than I did when we had it right away, which makes sense because the flavors will have mellowed and developed a little bit. But, you know, make a pot of this. You've got dinner that night, you've got leftovers for your lunch, and enjoy. Hit up our Facebook page. Let me know how it worked for you.